Okay, yeah.
See you with my eyes closed. It's the melanin, trippy, pure, solid gold. I'm the life source, conscious power that I hold. Last dragon, I master, let my soul flow. I can see you with my eyes closed. It's the melanin, trippy, pure, solid gold. I'm the life source, conscious power that I hold. Last dragon, I master, let my soul glow. I'm built up like an OG, mindset, unplugged, skeleton, boy tongue, that's what I call a bone thug, assassinate my old self, only keep it what I got left, ain't living for nobody else until I take my last breath. I'm everything that I need, abundance is a part of me, enemies don't corner me, unless it's the corner you want to be. I don't speak of a felony, first 28 is part of me, I only care what's killing me, I focus on what's real to me, writing with my queen pen, feeling like a kingpin, master of my desire, tapped in with action, dear rich, no cash in, birthright, no asking, God is my fashion, rebirth my passion, carved in, got altered, came out as hands in, crystalline my structure, force crystal my culture, explode, lava flow, the old me, she no joke, this new me is loco, motive my MO, magic my mojo, haters think I'm so, this day can't hear though, last dragon with soul glow, streets covered in blood spatter, I feel when the sun's bright, that's what I call a dark night, I see that shit with my third eye. It's a major transformation when embarking on the left, out the darkness, the life starts, now I know my breath, knowledge and health, that myth is the preface of my steps, shine bright cause I'm rare, a remnant is how I'm kept, slept loose, dream weaving, on medication, meditation, living loud out liberation, take back my emancipation, that goal, that observation, by any means, fuck limitation, get it done, no hesitation, back check, total indication, we coming hard, uncover that flows, uncover that nose, as classical masters, the truth of the storm, incarnated pros, enlightening masses, getting it in, on that country strip we been, soul aligned, mastermind, and remnants gathering, I can see you with my eyes closed, it's the melanin, trippy, pure, solid gold, I'm the life source, conscious power that I hold, last dragon, I master, let my soul glow, I can see you with my eyes closed, it's the melanin, trippy, pure, solid gold, I'm the life source, conscious power that I hold, last dragon, I master, let my soul glow.
Just chill with us for a little while, y'all. What? You don't have to touch it. Y'all give us a minute. We giving people time to come in. I'm not really sure how tonight is gonna go, so we're just gonna go with the flow. So just bear with us, chill with us. It's good vibes. Just let it resonate. And just go play one more song for y'all before we get started. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. A couple more songs and then we'll get started tonight. The energy is crazy. People are like, the fuck is going on the planet right now? So we figured it would be beneficial for us to decode the chaos. So that's what we're gonna be doing, decoding the chaos. And yeah, devices ain't doing what you want it to do. So you just kind of have to go with the flow. A lot of us, we know this shift is coming.
See what kind of
just ask her to shoot. Can you all hear us over here? We're trying to figure out why the sound is echoing. Let us know if y'all can hear us. like I said, you just got to go with the flow. You just got to go with the flow, and otherwise you just go feel real crazy 24/7. And we all crazy in our own way, but we're gonna get into that. What they saying over there? Okay. Can y'all hear us? What's the I thing behind you mean? That's the hand of Fatima. It's also called a Kamsa. It reverses evil energy. My friend, you should do the same. Concrete, homegrown in Tennessee. Grandma rose my ancestry, repping for the Cherokees. Learn to cherish air key. Trail of tears is where I be. 10 years indigenous, digging this is my that's where I be. But I don't let it worry me. Honor my ancestors, big facts, they carry me. Flush out that like light bulb. Tiptoe from crypto, death thought I was psycho. Gang back like psycho. Crystals, no repo. Sequence, no typo. Body cold, but I still go. My algorithm is fofo for show. Living divine life royally. This awareness is the conscious stream, and I've been reconnected anatomically. Loyalty, I owe myself, settled all inclusively. Out the box mentality, dangerous, my strategy. No casualty, mortal combat reality. Don't have to be, but it gotta be. A friend of full fatality. No soul dies, but death tolls with story told dramatically. Still fighting on with the same song, every game on systematically. With the right phase, it's a hard day with the family. HD, no low side, so quantum, we 5D. Transmute, I talk on. Energy, I flow zone. Yeah. That's some vibes. Good vibes, good vibes. In a world full of chaos, good vibes. Ego TKO. Yeah. I do that shit. Yep. All right. We gonna get started. We finna get started. I'm finna tell y'all now, like, get ready, because you finna hear some things that you probably had never ever heard before. Not probably, you gonna hear some shit you ain't never heard before. It's definitely a fact. So I want to start off by letting you know who we are, just in case you don't know who we are. I am Camson the Oracle. And I am Ernest. And we are Remnants Gathering, evolving into other things. Yes, Weirdo gang. Yes, yes. Yes. So welcome. We ran a flyer and we finally got the finalized date, and we talked to Dr. Eileen Bay about talking about the chaos and decoding the chaos. However, we haven't been able to get in touch with him yet. So we're going to go ahead and go with the information we were going to share. And what we'll be doing, any information that we miss, like, it's no worries. We're always going to be putting out more information. But first, I just want to start off by saying, right now, right now we are in Pluto return of the United States, which means in 1776, that was the year of Pluto return, and we're there again. And whenever Pluto returns, you're gonna have power shift, paradigm shift. You're gonna have countries, powers to begin to dismantle because the destruction is necessary to start again. So a lot of us like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. I'm like, it's every time I turn around, it's something. It's something. You know, the world, like we survived the pandemic for the last 2 years, you know, and sometimes I think we miss the old world and we wish it could go back to the old days the way it used to be, but it's not going back to the old days. This is it. You know, this is it. So a few years ago, we were teaching about the Galactic New Year, and a lot of people ain't even never heard of it. So I see how I just, first of all, want to say, don't come in here and have preconceived notions that you hold on to so tight, you can't process or hear what is being said. It's not going to resonate with everybody. It's not supposed to. So tonight, I want to begin by kind of bringing together so that you all can see how the planetary invasion and how this spiritual concentration camp we have been trapped in. So I've talked about this a lot, but I'm going to get into this because I feel like some of y'all maybe don't know this. And so I'm just going to go ahead. We are a generation who had a soul contract to come here during the age in which the world was ending. People say that the Mayan calendar was inaccurate and the world was supposed to end in 2012, and it didn't, but it did. We all died. The world as we knew it died in 2012. And if you remember in 2012, to keep it from being so catastrophic, a lot of the ascended masters and sometimes what we would call these higher forms of intelligence, whether you call it an Orisha, a deity, a Neteru, or a spirit guide, or your ancestors, ascended masters, angels, demons included. That's another conversation where we're going to get into that because it seems like a lot of people don't know that they have demons. You know, and a lot of people don't know that demons aren't something that you get rid of, run from, banish, shame, feel bad about. So this is how the cycle of us being born and being born into sin and shaped in iniquity, right? So the message when you come onto this planet, whether you're born in the United States, down in the South, the Bible Belt, another country, they got a monotheistic religious belief system so entangled on every continent. So you're not really getting away from it, even if you really was never really into church like that. So, I'm not going to get into the religious detox too much because we're putting another religious detox together. And I know some of y'all are like, what? Religious detox? Yes, we need to detox the energy that is not supporting us. That energy is not supporting us. So if you feel like there's no good thing about you, and much of what I'm saying comes from scripture, there's no good thing about you. You're born in sin. So soon as you come here as a baby, you're considered to be sinful, which means you're considered to be bad. You're not lovable. And if you have sin that is shaping iniquity, so this is over time, basically iniquity can be a word you can exchange for trauma. And so over time, the trauma that you experience as a child on this planet turns into something they call a sin, when it actually is just the impact of trauma. So a lot of us have complex PTSD, which we are just now really learning about and identifying with these terms and phrases because we didn't know. If you have never did research on post-traumatic slave syndrome, I highly recommend that you do that. That is also another condition of mental illness. A lot of us grew up with a childhood where there were things going on in a home that was really, really difficult for us to process as children. So we created an ego to protect us, and that is all of your coping mechanisms. So when you have the coping mechanisms that you create to protect yourself, like being passive aggressive, being argumentative, pushing people away from you, critical, maybe you don't have a secure love attachment and you're like fearful, avoidant, or you could be anxious, preoccupied love attachment where you can't stop thinking about why they're not answering the phone, why they're not texting you back, Why they not calling you back? You just kind of live in a state of suspicion and jealousy, right? And fear of being abandoned and rejected. And so that comes from our childhood. So these are some of the things that created the abyss that we're experiencing now. And I know people like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's just saying like, I'm crazier than I used to be. Saying like other people is crazier than they used to be. And some people just fucking insane. And I don't even know what to do. Well, let me let you know now. After 2012, when the world as we knew it was destroyed, I could see it happening and I could also hear it in the skies. Do y'all remember the trumpet sounds that we was hearing in the sky, the rumbling, and what? No planes, no other way to explain it. It happened all over the world. If I'm the news, had to stop talking about it because we talked about it so much. So the news like, let's cover this. The strange booms under the ground, the trumpet sounds in the sky, right? That was 2012. So what happens is when the frequency of a planet begins to shift because you're going into a new age, this age could be considered Kali Yuga, which is also an age of chaos and destruction. So the rebirth can happen. You could also look at this as the age of Aquarius that we were entering into, which is an age of the energy of mental energy. Aquarian energy is mental energy. So this is why right now we're seeing a lot of mental illness. How did this happen to us? Well, for those of us who incarnated during the age of Pisces, so if you were born anywhere from the 1920s and probably farther back than that, upwards to as of recent, you are considered to be someone who was born in the age of Pisces. Now, the babies being born from like 2014, even 2012 and forward, I really do believe they hold Aquarian energy, that mental energy as I'm talking about. But the age of Pisces, that energy was all about belief systems. It wasn't about proof. It was about belief systems. So we were told, I cuss a lot. Let me make sure y'all know in case y'all don't know me, because that's my ashe. So I don't cuss to hurt people, but I cuss because it feels so fucking good. And you know, when you hit your toe, your ass cuss too. Let's keep it real. Okay. And it's because those words alleviate tension, right? It's a release. So every word can be used to either bless or curse, not just what's considered to be curse words. So let's be clear on that before I go ahead. And if you got children, you're like, oh shit, I cuss like a sailor. Okay. So yes, but I'm decoding the chaos so that you can pinpoint where the curses are that you are here to clear and what you can do moving forward. So with that being said, the age of Aquarius, we have a soul contract to be here in this time. And what happens is the monotheistic religion, they did a really good job at the mass psychosis. Because most everybody that's listening to me right now, you don't feel good enough. You don't feel lovable. You don't feel like you can even trust your own self because you feel like you make a lot of bad decisions, right? Why are you feeling this way? Like, why all of a sudden does it seem like this bothers you more than it used to? It's because the age that we're in. Now, I'm probably gonna shock some people, but you know, my business manager and my assistant is telling me, Camson, you kind of need to go back to the beginning because there's a lot of new people. So that's what I'm trying to kind of take y'all back to the beginning, but I'm really giving you a crash course on chaos, so that you will know where you fit into the grand scheme of things. So with that being said, your soul said, when I come, I want this to stop. So anything that happened to you that was traumatic for you, it wasn't happening to you because you were a victim of something that only wanted to harm you. It was happening because you said, I'm going to be strong enough to go through this thing right here. And I know for sure if I feel the pain of the burn from the fire, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to start uprooting the programs. And I'm not going to reaffirm the things that are negative and that cause trauma and generational curses. That's why we go through stuff. Why bad things happen to good people? Well, harmful, negative things happen because you said, this is what I'm going to deal with. But I'm going to deal with it so that I'll have a resonance, so that I'll be passionate about it not happening again. So for a lot of us, if we got abused, it made us better parents, because we're just like, and maybe you didn't get it at first, because I didn't, because I used to knock the hell out of my door. And because I thought it was normal. And, you know, so when I started going through the awakening in 2012, I was like, wait a minute, how in the hell am I talking about I want to end generational curses and I'm putting my hands on my child? That was the beginning of me asking these questions, because I had never really stopped to ask the questions. Why am I doing this? So after that, of course, I got in therapy. My daughter got in therapy, and we kind of worked it out. So that was the beginning of my awakening back in 2012. However, it was happening before then, because everything that is happening now, I dreamed about it and saw it and recorded it and posted it on YouTube. I saw myself sitting here now explaining videos from 10 years ago. So typically my visions are about 10 years ahead of what's occurring, which is the Oracle Mami Wata Sybil lineage that I come from. The reason why I have the ability to see through time and space like this, and it's also because of my galactic signature. And I know some people probably never heard of that. You know, galactic signature is the energy that forms your being, forms your essence. It determines how much of you is intellectual versus naturally emotional. It determines your skills, your gifts, things that you're going to do. So according to the galactic signature, right? So with that being said, you want to learn about that, we got you. It's on the website, we got you, it's there, okay? But I want to work through this. So after that happened, if you remember, after the sounds and the booms, they started talking about the poles shifting. That became a big conversation about the poles shifting, right? Now, most people are aware that there are chemicals and heavy metals and a lot of other things that are ionizing the skies above us. And we can see the sun being blocked out on some days. And you can just walk outside and feel the heaviness in the air. And sometimes your mind goes into trying to justify it. And so you be like, am I depressed, or is something bad about to happen? Or, you know, and you can't really put your finger on what it is. So I know a lot of people are feeling that. Okay, fast forward to another huge event was in 2018. That's when I first started getting decodings, these downloads, which some people call light codes. But this is when I go into a channeling and I'm getting information that I never knew before. And I was told that in 2018, I was told that there was a particular star that was supposed to have died, and the star didn't die. It was supposed to go supernova, and that was the Betelgeuse star. And I talked about how this particular star, it has the power to exorcise demons. Now, demons could be a couple of different things depending on your background and what you have been told, but I would implore upon you to begin researching words and the meanings and origins of those words so that you can get to the bottom of it, because sometimes we just take a word that somebody else told us and told us what it meant and run with it. So with that being said, remember when I was explaining in the beginning how the impact of trauma is what was categorized as sin in a lot of the religious texts, but it was really just the impact of trauma. And you can go and think of any sin and you'll be able to connect it to a specific trauma and the way that we cope with that trauma, and it develops into some type of mental or emotional imbalance. So the books that are supposed to be giving us instructions on how to live the life while we're on the planet, if we're not getting the full truth in those books, where do you look to, right? So with the cosmos and everything that is happening now, Betelgeuse is exercising our demons, which means the collective. The collective is this huge cloud of consciousness that is created by each of us every single day, every lifetime, what we think about, our actions, and what we do, the things that we don't do, the things that we don't say. So the collective shadow, if you want to study a little more about this, this is based on the research of Carl Jung. The collective shadow is all of the repressed stuff. It's the stuff that nobody want to talk about. It's the abuse that has occurred and we don't want to talk about it, and maybe we're embarrassed. We're ashamed of putting up with it. We're ashamed of not speaking up, right? So these things impact everybody. So so when you hear me say demon, I don't want you to think of some ugly monster that crawls out from under your bed, the way they program us to look at it. I want you to look at it as your trauma and the way that you cope. So this could be addictions that you use to cope. You know, this could be drinking, it could be overeating. And I mean, we got plenty of poisons and drugs to pick. There are medications, and there are also foods that has chemicals in it. So the chemicals are masquerading as food. A lot of us not even really eating real food. Rice is not real. Lettuce is not real anymore. You know, stuff is plastic. You kind of got to check stuff to see if it's real rice now. You gotta check and see. I've been to a piece of lettuce a few months ago and it tasted like a bell pepper. And I was just like, you know, so I'm like, okay, well, they're obviously using the genetics of bell peppers and splicing it with the lettuce, maybe to make the lettuce thicker so it's not as easy to destroy, which saves money for the people selling it. I mean, I get it. When you look back at what happened to us with Popeye's chicken and people were stabbing and murdering and killing and harming each other over a sandwich, I hope y'all have not forgotten. So when you have this level of toxicity and this level of tension, there's going to be disparity. People are going to feel hopeless. People are going to feel sad, and they feel like they don't know what to do next. You don't know how to pull yourself out of the sunken place. You know, now with this energy that is entering, we know that the plasma from these stars, right, it affects us and it affects our mental space. Remember, this is age of Aquarius. So this is when all of the shit that we didn't heal, all of the stuff we didn't talk about, the things that we still do that we know is not serving us, that we know is harmful, the things that we do when we don't say no and we know we should, when we being too nice, we being people pleasers, we're afraid to tell people that I can't help you or I don't want to help you, right? Because that's not something you're allowed to do on this planet. I mean, when you're born into this thing called family, right? You have to conform to whatever their beliefs and values are. Most of us didn't grow up and it was just like, oh, what are your beliefs about God? What are your beliefs about the devil? What are your beliefs about sin? So we just inherited consciousness from what was given to us, but who gave it to them? Keep going back, and keep going back. And you'll begin to find the key to where it goes back to. So in order to lock down souls and force them to reincarnate, you must make them forget. Because if we remember our past life incarnations, then knowledge absolutely will give us power to be able to change that situation. So what happens is, as babies, we're born, we cannot speak. We can't tell nobody what's happening to us. That's the most vulnerable place to be on this planet, is in the body of a baby, in the body of a toddler, in the body of a child. You can't even talk. So if somebody is abusing you, molesting you, burning you with cigarettes, leaving you to cry for hours and hours, not feeding you. I mean, we all have our stories, right? So what happens is, over time, you develop these different ways of being able to cope with this chaos, and you don't know what to do with it. And we just sweep it under the rug, and it does not go away. And the more you ignore it, the more that it's going to take over your life. And that's what we're seeing now. So this is Judgment Day. A lot of us thought that it was going to be a huge guy with a long beard that was going to sit us down and be like, look, roll out the scroll. You did this, you said that, you thought that, you touched that, you ate that, you smoked that. The list goes on, right? But really, Judgment Day was you having to confront and face these wounded parts of yourself. That's what it's about. So God is within you. God is within you. That's why you're breathing. Remember, the spirit breath. So it's within you. And what happens is, now that we're being exercised, we don't have a choice but to meet ourselves for the first time. And it don't matter how old you are. If you are awakening, you are constantly learning new things about yourself every single day, all day. So now that I kind of gave an explanation of that. Give me a second. Let me go into here, and I'm really trying to take it easy on y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I am, because I can feel like I got some new people, but it's like, fuck taking it easy. I just need to give it to y'all. Like, you came because you wanted to smoke. If you don't, you can exit, right? So let me just make this real clear right now. Now that you have a snapshot of that, on top of that, in 2020, blue lunar storm year, that was a galactic new year. That basically means everything ended. So in 2019, in July, when we crossed the galactic center, that's when we went into a whole new galactic year, a whole new age. And that's where we are now. I studied with every religion I could find because I have always been searching for the truth. I have always been able to feel when something's just not right about something. But because being born on this planet, you're not allowed to have your own mind. Guess what happened to us? We became clones of each other's consciousness. We operate in a space of artificial intelligence and artificial love because we don't really know how to show up for our own selves. And until you nurture yourself, until you get to know these aspects of you, your shadow self, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to nurture yourself because you're not going to feel worthy to be nurtured. One of the most difficult things in 2019, when the blue lunar storm occurred, this is when we really started studying frequency, because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. None of this shit is personal. It's really not. I know it feels that way. It's not personal. It's happening to everybody who agreed to awaken, right? So I'm gonna read a little bit more to you about the how can I put it? The 1320 frequency. I don't really know how to begin even breaking that down. I guess we'll just read it. Cause in order for us to get free, we have to begin pulling ourselves away from anything that was programmed into us to keep us on the prison planet. It's not about the location. It's about the state of awareness. It's about the ability to see through the illusion of Maya, which is the illusion. So the way that they locked us in, and I'll never forget the very first day that I found this, I cried, because I said, oh my goodness, you mean to tell me everything that I've been saying is about to happen? Like when I was uploading videos, I wasn't on no clout shit. I wasn't like, oh, I'm the oracle. And matter of fact, when I first started, I was a Christian, kind of, sort of. I went to church, you know. But after studying every religion that I could put my hand on, and it brought me back to this space. So when the Gregorian calendar was created, what they did was they altered the calendar not to fit at the astrological alignment, but to be able to control labor. That's all that it was ever created to do. The Gregorian calendar was only created to do exactly what it has done, which was turn us into workhorses. This is why a lot of people now dread going to work. You don't even be wanting to be there. The whole time you're there, you thinking about what you're gonna do when you leave. And it was probably one point in time you really loved doing what you did. So this is the awakening happening. And so the labor, the slave labor, because it's basically paid slave labor. Let's be clear. Anytime you exchange time and energy for money, that's basically slave labor. It just comes with some benefits. But this is why the 3D matrix is exhausting to people who are starseeds and awakening empaths. And you learning all of this new stuff about yourself, and all of a sudden you're like, I want to connect with my higher self. And a couple of years ago, you probably had never used that word, right? Like what? Like, right. Like the hell? I had people like, yo, higher self. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know about your higher self. And they're like, no, what is that? You know, so higher self is also the thing that was called the Holy Spirit. Okay, so this is the part of you that is the most pure part of you. So by modifying the calendar, right, changing the frequency, they were able to alter our consciousness. And this is the war on consciousness. That's what this is. So let me get into the 1320. Can you read this?
Okay, so the first step is to realize that the root of our enslavement originates in unconsciously following the 1260 time and frequency. That's 12-month calendar, 60-minute clock. It is an artificial mind control grid that is superimposed over the natural 1320 grid. The artificial grid is held in place by the Gregorian calendar, an instrument of control, which has now been in operation for 438 years, and that's as of 2020.
438 years. You hear this? So this is like a couple years away from the 400 years in which the Willie Lynch letter was used to mind control slaves, right? So in 2017, I was a Hebrew Israelite, and when we had the eclipse, those eclipses create this X mark the spot over top of the United States. And in 2024, 2 more years, we're going to have the other eclipse. When eclipses move across the continent like that, it creates an energetic grid. And I'll be getting more into what to expect in the next 2 years. But first, I got to get y'all caught up, because it's like we just got snatched out of the false womb of 3D Matrix. And it's like Neo, you're sick and your head hurting, your throat. You're like, what the hell is going on with me? You're seeing things 2 and 3 times. You're having deja vu more often. So I'm kind of trying to get y'all up to speed. We want y'all to, so we can tell y'all what we need to tell you.
So the Gregorian calendar is a device that was invented by the Vatican in 1582. It forms an integral and dogmatic foundation of the European Western dominance of the world. The current world mind is overflowing with contradictory, fragmented, and disharmonious thought forms, creating a catastrophic cacophony. Who owns your time, owns your mind.
Now, wait a minute. Y'all heard the word thought forms, right? So in your own time, spend some time researching thought forms. Thought, F-O-R-M-S, because I know some of y'all not from the South and I sound real country to y'all. Thought forms. Look that up. And I can't get into it too much, but I'm just say this. Whatever thoughts that you marinate in the most, it creates an actual form. Okay, so what is considered to be demons can also be thought forms. So if I sat here right now and thought very negatively about my finances, and I find myself doing that every day and I don't check it, I create a thought form that will keep me in poverty. Because our mind is a quantum computer. What you think about creates scalar waves that can actually be measured. So I'm not talking about no spooky shit. Everything that we teach can be proven with science and many other ways of measuring these things. So what was categorized as demons is really something that oftentimes we are creating with our mindset.
Facts. Again, so who owns your time owns your mind. The 1260 frequency has been institutionalized into every facet of our society and seeks to turn humans into automatons.
Or AI, because we was the first AI. The clone consciousness. Mm-hmm. You see, you ain't had an authentic thought and you don't know when. I know me, I'd be sitting there like, damn, I ain't had no authentic thought in a while. If most of the thoughts that you have, you know somebody that believes that too, 9 times out of 10, it's not an authentic thought.
That's right. War and violence have been so ingrained in our consciousness that many people think it's normal. Living out of sync with nature and our divine essence is the root cause of the multiple crisis and dysfunctionality of our species at this time. This disconnection results in a loss of collective vision, depression, mental and physical illness, confusion, inequality, loss of purpose, and increasing cognitive dissonance. In time and the technosphere, Dr. Jose Aguilera's demonstrates how the Gregorian calendar runs in 28-year cycles. If this 28-year Gregorian calendar cycle starting in 2001 were to go unimpeded until 2029, it is not certain what would be left of the biosphere. But there is one thing of which we may be certain. Artificial linear time has run out.
Mhm.
He prognosticated that the artificial technosphere will eventually culminate in the awakened noosphere, the planetary sphere of thought and collective intelligence. The technosphere is the artificial sheath of technology that emerged from the biosphere and now permeates the planet. When the noosphere becomes fully conscious, it will invoke a new field of awareness with possibilities yet undreamed.
Mhm.
Breaking old dream spells and healing ancient trauma. If we do not change our consciousness, our inability to change will bring on the change that is necessary, however destructive that may be to our present day beliefs.
You hear that? That's what the mental illness, especially in certain communities, especially in Black and brown communities, because we didn't do no psychology therapy, none of that. You got your ass whooped and you was told pray. That was it. Any problem that you had, one of them two things was your only option. And once you grow up and you don't have tools and you don't know how to have a healthy conversation with your own self, then it's going to be difficult to have healthy relationships with other people where there's real connection. And this is not to blame nobody. So, don't nobody, it's not going to benefit you to blame right now because that's ego energy, right? So it's the heart energy and just working through it and accepting it. All right. That's how you're going to be able to pull yourself out of the sunken place.
Yeah, that's the hard. That's hard enough as it is. And then just adding blame and pointing the finger, that I've experienced that. That's just gonna keep you in a cycle and not getting nowhere. So
and it's intentional.
Let that go.
Okay. So don't let yourself just be food or to be fed on because of your despair. Right? Sure, sweetie. And we learn how to work through it. Okay. I got that.
In the next 9 years, let's see how much of the ancient trauma we can heal internally and collectively. We do this by first understanding that the ancient traumas in all of their forms are a spell of false time. All traumas and fear programs are 1260 or they're artificially generated. When they become collective belief systems, an unconscious plan from previously unresolved histories takes over. We see all these unresolved traumas playing out now on the world stage. Our true essence is always pure and untouched. This is known as the Atman in Hindu philosophy, the true self that is beyond identification with phenomena, the essence of our soul. But to fully understand this, we first have to break the spell of false time in all of its fractalized forms. What are these spells? The key spells are embedded in our perceptions of sex, death, power, and money. There is no effective change or activism toward external authority structures without previous work on one's own inner systems. We each have a role to play in pinpointing and healing the ancient trauma so we can step off the time loop into a brighter dream. Different aspects of the law of time help us to make sense of the ancient traumas in order to heal, namely the Telectanon prophecy of Pakal Botan. This prophecy helps us to identify more deeply these different karmic errors and enables us to analyze the world situation from a cosmic perspective above the whole earth. Now I have a little bit more. I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna get into the actual galactic signature for today. The principle of the ancient knowledge formulated as the law of time and 13 moon calendar was revived through the Telectanon prophecy, which distinguishes 4 planets that hold karma to be redeemed: Maldek, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Mars, or death fear cults. Maldek deals with sex crimes. Jupiter deals with false light or abused power. And then Saturn is a corrupted monetary system. Saturn also equals 1 ring to rule them all. This relates to all war and terrorism that needs to be transmuted into creative expressions. Nuclear destruction, radiation, viruses, pandemics, violence, aggression, murder, crime, killing, including animals. Now, again, Maldek is represented by sex taboos. Maldek refers to the 5th orbit, which is now the asteroid belt. This holds the trauma of sex crimes. For instance, trafficking, pedophilia, pornography, etc. It also traces back to themes of original sin and shame. Any misuse and repression of sex as sacred life force leads to aggression and war, as well as the need to dominate and control. Jupiter, or false spirituality and abuse of power, false religious figures, government officials, media moguls, and anyone else who controls or manipulates the minds of the masses. According to the law of time, the world mind is owned by the Vatican via the Gregorian calendar. Again, who owns your time owns your mind. As the current global civil standard, the Gregorian calendar is the foundation of globalization.
Yeah. So you see the religious systems, that's why it's breaking down now?
That's Saturn too.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so Saturn is represented by materialism, greed, inequality, and the economy. The elite 1%, epitomized by the time is money philosophy. The time value of money is the cornerstone of capitalism. Saturn in Greek is Chronos, or god of time. City of Rome was originally known as Saturnia, or city of Saturn. Saturn also relates to Satan, or Lucifer. These 4 planets and their qualities are the key themes that the media blasts out continuously every day. In this system, Saturn governs Mars and Jupiter governs Maldek.
Did you tell them who Maldek was? Okay.
The unresolved karma from destroyed planets Maldek and Mars was transferred to Earth.
Let me read it one more time. Because people talk about breaking generational curses, but if you don't know none of this, you're just going to be chasing your tail because we did it.
Yeah.
We tried everything.
Yeah.
And nothing worked.
The unresolved karma from destroyed planets Maldek and Mars was transferred to Earth. This karmic corruption became known on Earth as false spirituality, or Jupiter, and the power of Maldek was turned into sexual taboo and abuse. False spirituality manipulates sexual power.
What do that again?
I thought you wanted to go in. Yeah, false spirituality manipulates sexual power.
Y'all hear this? So
give us one example of false spirituality.
Baby, I don't know. Look, I was up channeling all last night. Like when I tell you I have not been sleeping probably 3 or 4 hours because it's heavy when your crown is really getting downloads. That what the heavy crown is. It's not the physical crown. But when your crown chakra begins communicating this information, you ain't go Google this and find this. I was led to this information because I was sick of not being able to get ahead. I knew it was something wrong, but no fucking body around me had an answer. I asked everybody. I went as high up as I could. I didn't sat down and had conversations with everybody. So let's just start here. Did y'all know that Satan was Saturn and that Saturn is wrong? See, our soul is not ours until we become sovereign, until we become God, goddess over our own lives, and until we start scripting the narrative of our own reality. So everything on this planet was to stop us from doing that, from stop us from having individuation. So when we talk about sexual energy, a lot of us have had so many negative experiences around sexual energy, we thought it was something wrong with us, right? And I keep saying this over and over and over again. CERN was not the first CERN. D-Wave was not the first quantum computer, and 5G was not the first Wi-Fi. You are. And when you really look at monotheistic religion and sex, it is really fucking confusing. And I'm gonna keep it so 100 with y'all right now, because there was a point in my life that I paid tithes and offerings if I got turned on from looking at somebody, because I felt like, okay, that was lust. So a man thinketh, so is he. So I need to repent. My body doing something that it is naturally supposed to do, and that's like repenting. Naturally. That's like repenting for blinking. It's a natural function of the body. This is what causes mental illness. This is what causes emotional imbalances and psychosis. This is why we don't know how to have conversations with each other without projecting our bullshit on each other. This is why we don't know how to be accountable for things, because we've been wrong since we was fucking born about everything. And some of the stuff was stuff that was completely out of our control, because there was a whole other system that took black magic and reverse engineered it to socially engineer us to be prisoners of our own body. Your physical body is a fucking prison. If you did not know, that's why it hurts. That's why it gets sick. That's why it breaks. And that is why it is under attack. They are attacking us because they want to make us so fucking unhappy and uncomfortable with our body and our being that we got to go to the metaverse to get some fucking relief. Why is that? Because religion is dissolving. Spirituality is shifting to something else. People are saying, no, spirituality is whatever resonates with me right now. They don't want that to happen because that's sovereignty. Sovereignty ain't some fucking papers that you go and get only. You must be sovereign in your mind. That's right. So how can you have a healthy relationship with all of that? And the real messed up part about this is women and feminine energy got the short end of the stick in the whole situation. Can we just talk about women and sex? Let's start with Eve. Eve supposedly was the one to blame for the fall in the garden. That's demonizing the feminine energy. That's demonizing not just the woman. This was about energy that is transformative. Adam couldn't even take no accountability, and he's supposed to be the first man. You named all these animals and you the first man, but you can't even take no accountability. Why was she looking for another tree to eat? Was you feeding her? Or was it really food? What did the apple really represent? Was the apple fruits? Because fruits can be fertility. Fruits come from trees. And inside of your brain is a tree. And your nervous system extends down your spinal cord, which is considered to be of the tree. And the energy that moves through your body that connects you with Mama Earth so that you can have this life experience, so that when you walk outside, you're connected. Mama Earth is not a rock just spinning in space. She's sentient. So look how they treated Mama Earth. They done raped, pillaged, colonized. Eve was just really trying to help. She's like, look, I found this fruit on that tree. And the serpent like, look, you'll be like God. Who don't want to be like God? Who don't want the ability to have some power over what the fuck happens to you and the people you care about? Since when is that something that's harmful? So we're all walking around in bodies with a chronological age that's not equal to our emotional age. Because our emotional intelligence is low because we're clones. We have been clones with inherited beliefs and values, artificial intelligence. And guess what? If your ass try to step out and say anything that's not in alignment with Rome, you finna hear about it. People finna be through fucking with you. People that you thought would be in your life forever is like, I don't want nothing to do with that. That's the devil. They into the devil.
You're getting it from all the agents.
And even worse, if this tree had knowledge of good and evil, even though good and evil don't exist, and I know I'll go back to that. I want to speak about polarities. So if you hear good and evil, just think North Pole, South Pole, and just think energy. Because a lot of us, if we're not even in the mental space to judge what's good for us or what's bad, because some of the stuff that you thought was good for you, now you can't eat it no more. You can't drink it no more. You can't take it no more. You can't depend on it no more. Some people thought getting a college degree and going to school to be a doctor was good. And now you're like, damn, I didn't vaccinated thousands of people. And I really feel terrible to know that they're dying. You see? But when you try to hold on to beliefs that have expired, you can't do nothing but create insanity. This is where we are, and people don't know how to soothe themselves because people are disconnected from source energy. We're disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from spirit. We're disconnected from our own selves. And Eve said to Adam, this tree right here, this is life. We will live for eternity. What did that God say? No. Why you naked? Who told you was naked? I was looking for you. Where was you at? What was the first thing Adam said? It's this woman you gave me. So when your man or a more masculine dominant person attack you and you like, I wasn't really doing anything to harm you, and you get blamed for stuff, look. Somebody got to keep it real. The first thing that a lot of men do is start blaming a woman because there's a lack of emotional intelligence and an inability to be accountable, because guess what? Adam wasn't. The monotheistic religion that was used to program our consciousness wasn't. He was like, is this bitch, these hoes ain't loyal. Oh, but if you are a Muslim, you get to have a whole bunch of virgins when you die. Are y'all seeing this? So if we perish for lack of knowledge, why in the hell would we not want to eat from the tree of life and the tree of knowledge? That creates insanity right there by itself. Can somebody make it make sense? So suffering comes from the lack of knowledge.
So again, false spirituality manipulates sexual power. Through the shadow play of forces on Saturn and Jupiter, the power of abundance becomes corrupted on Earth into materialism. which maintains itself by manipulating Mars, or death and fear. As an example of this is insurance and pharmaceutical companies that manipulate death to feed materialism. This also includes false hierarchies of priests who manipulate the sexual taboo to maintain power over the people.
So is it natural or is it normal for nuns and even men who may want to really be in a relationship with Mary and they cannot? Is that normal? Because when we stop procreating, we stop existing.
Yes, Snooty Cutie. That's
right.
That's right. Yep. Insanity is created when we as people cannot be our true selves. Creative. Yep. Dr. Jose Aguilares, discoverer of this prophecy, points out that the final collapse of the technosphere is also the final war between blood, or biology, and money, currency.
Now, let me just slide in here. You know, currency is being reset. The economy is being reset. As we explain this to you, you can kind of imagine the biology being reset, the digital biometrics, COVID, right? That's the digital biometrics. I dreamed about all of this. So I've been studying this stuff for a real long time, but people thought I was crazy. So I was just like, oh, I create a YouTube channel and talk to other crazy people. Hello, how you doing?
Yeah. So this translates as the harvesting of life force, or i.e. biological currency. At this time, we are called upon to recognize the errors of the past, which have led to destruction and oppression, and to correct these errors by taking back our power. This involves a collective shift inward rather than outward.
Yeah.
Every 28 days of the 13 moons, we use our love and telepathic focus to clear these ancient traumas. A main goal of the Telectanon prophecy is to transform Babylon planet back into divine wholeness, known as the cube of the law. This is a hyperdimensional cube of creation, not to be confused with the lower dimensional cube of Saturn.
Did y'all know that? It's really interesting when you have conversations with people who aren't ready for this information. And I'll ask that you know that, and they're like, no. But when they see me and whatever they see me doing, they have a judgment about it. And I'm just like, but you don't have the information to really be able to have a judgment about what you're perceiving. So again, that's how we imprison our own self. Because sometimes people just trying to help you be free. A lot of us thought Kanye was crazy, but he was just trying to let us see that we don't be having authentic thoughts. We don't have original thoughts. Most of us just believe whatever we was inherited and told to believe, right? Because you ain't supposed to question God.
Nope.
Lack of knowledge, I perish, but don't question God. It creates insanity. And as children, a lot of us grew up that way. And now, so for some people, this is too much. So, you know, with this information, that's why I don't try to cram this down people's throats. But everybody's not ready for this smoke. And that's okay. It's no judgment to that. But a truly spiritual person is a person who has the ability to not judge themselves in a negative way or anyone else, but still enforce boundaries to protect the work that is happening inside of them because they have turned within.
That's a soundbite. Ultimately, we are here to break the spell of the illusory perception of the separation from source. We are called to activate a new frequency of consciousness by awakening hearts and minds into a cosmic field of love. This creates an ever-increasing magnetic effect in the great wave of awakening and its tidal pull toward the one. We break old dream spells by facing and embracing our own shadow and not giving into any more hate or negativity. The systemic problems embedded in the 1260 frequency can only be solved by transcending them all together and raising our consciousness into the pristine new beam frequency. We have the opportunity through focused attention to switch the radio station that is being broadcast to Earth.
Now, There was a star that was found by NASA, and this star was emitting a very specific radio frequency a few years ago. And this particular frequency, the messages come every 16 days. Okay, this was before all of this started. And this is not the Betelgeuse star that I was talking about, where this was happening. So basically what we have here is this, you know, like with your dogs, you can get like the frequency fence and you can't see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, touch it, but it's there and the dog can't leave the yard. That's what happened to a lot of us. And we are starting to really feel the impact and the implications of not being in our natural harmonious state. So many of us live in fight or flight. This is why we have high blood pressure, cortisol, and a lot of health conditions as well, because we live in fight or flight. We don't have tools, we don't have the knowledge, and a lot of us don't have the support to study this. You're not going to go to any school and learn these things. Well, New Youth Mystery School that we started this year, but typically this information is not readily available. So when you have people becoming aware of their suffering and their pain and becoming aware of these things, they're learning about themselves, and you're beginning to see that you are, in fact, the point of attraction for things that happen. Even if you can't make the connections, you are. Anything that shows up in your reality is there because you were a vibrational match for it. But when you judge yourself and when you feel ashamed and you feel guilty, and this is like an everyday occurrence, it's real hard to be accountable and just show up for your own self, because it's just like, I shouldn't be like this. Why am I like this? Why am I so codependent? Why don't I know how to soothe myself without using coping mechanisms that's not benefiting me anymore? So this is the end. This is it. It's over. The rapture, that's not an event that's coming. That is a phase of events of harvesting of souls, but not to just leave the physical body, but to leave the physical prison that we were put into. This is what illumination is. This is how you enlighten yourself. This is how you lift yourself up out of the sunken place, right? So it's a lot of things that we can say, but I'm not going to say on here, but I do want to say this. If this is resonating with you, this means that this is a time where you are ready to start actually making decisions to live your life for you. And when you do that, there is a separate issue that we have now become very aware of. And that is something that is called Wetiko. Wetiko is a mind virus of fear. It's based in fear, not love, because fear is the complete opposite of love. Remember, I was saying speak in terms of duality and polarity. So something is one thing, something is another, but there are many, many shades of gray in between these things.
That's spelled W-E-T-I-K-O.
And I was healed of this mind virus last year. And I didn't know how much I hated myself until this virus was removed from me. And I finally had permission to not only love myself, but I had permission and support for me. And even though we're in this twin flame reunion right now, physically, it had nothing to do with him. This was all about me going within me and learning how to be with me and love me without having to be perfect, without having to be what somebody else wanted me to be. I found my own personal power, but this mind virus is real. So when they talk about these viruses, these variants, this is what's happening to time and space, because they're attempting to take back control of time and space as we are awakening. So 1320 is basically 13 moons, right? Instead of 12. So you see the connection. And cultures like the Mayan culture, the Ethiopians, ancient Kemet, many of the cultures that created a lot of this information, they were demonized as well. So what you see happen in the physical realm is always a mirror of what's happening in the spiritual realm. As above, so below, as within, so without. And the red pill is supposed to be what awakens you. But what do you do after that? How do you sustain yourself when you come to the knowledge of the truth of yourself and your existence? Some of us still haven't healed the wounds from our childhood, but we're trying to build businesses and empires and relationships and marriages and families. But there is a part of us that feels this deep, deep pain. So the chaos that is unfolding in the world right now is because people cannot cope. It's just too much at one time. We're not really getting breaks like we used to. On top of that, if you study the Gnostic texts, which was texts that religion did not include in a lot of the main books that they use, and they talk about these archons, and these archons are these parasitic entities. And so because the light spectrum that's visible to the human eye is very small, we can't see these things. So you can't rely on your two eyes to sense something that is occurring within the spirit realm. This is why the third eye, or the pineal gland, and being able to not use your two eyes, but to perceive with your third eye, and you can begin to sense and feel and pick up on these things. But when these archonic parasites attach to you, when you start using coping mechanisms and blaming and just, you don't know where to even begin to have harmony within your own self, and you feel in this inner conflict, when that starts happening, they give you more reason to create more despair, pain, and suffering, and fear, and anxiety. The worst part of all of this is that most people who are asking for help can't digest the help that they're asking for that will set them free. So this is not something that you're going to hear and just get it like that. It's a process, because you have to detox the old way. You have to detox the whatever it was that you believed was true. You have to remove that from your being. And it takes time to reprogram the subconscious mind, because 95% of your life is created by your subconscious mind. Only the 5% conscious mind is what creates your life. So if you're looking at your life and you can't figure out why your life is the way that it is, typically it's due to the subconscious mind. It's a program that's running the subconscious mind of not enoughness. And no matter how much you work, you will always find yourself not being able to keep up with the bills. That's not for you to feel bad or to be a victim or be shamed or feel guilty. We all have an area where we could have some improvement and increase in our lives. But the key is just being able to be with yourself no matter what is going on, and to be able to love who you are in that moment. And I know for some people, because I spent most of my life suicidal, depressed, and I cried every day for probably 16 years straight. Every day before school and every day at night, I cried for hours. And each time that I thought I was going to be able to get out of this hellhole, it didn't work, because I was meant to be here doing exactly what I'm doing. And the metaverse is not going to be the answer, because if you have not studied thought forms, if you don't know anything about your astral body, if you're not lucid dreaming or even attempting to astral travel or meditating, it's going to be really difficult to have peace, because the battle is inside of your mind. This is the war on consciousness. So the peace is not something that we're going to see in the world outside of us. It's something we have to cultivate inside of us. A lot of us lack discipline. We don't have the discipline to even love ourselves. Because when you try to love yourself, it's been happening between us, the other person, if they got abandonment issues or a love attachment issue or anything, it's going to be triggering for them. And it's going to be like, why are you acting different? Why are you moving different? Why are you doing that and saying that and wearing that and eating that and going there? And it's too much. And the ego don't like a whole lot of change. That's what the ego do. The ego keep you in sameness, because in sameness is safe, because at least you know what you're dealing with. But uncertainty, uncertainty is not tolerable to the ego. So this is what's creating a lot of the chaos on the planet. And on top of all of this, if you happen to be a EU melanin-based being, then because you are tethered to the cosmos, and you are also tethered to the devices, because a lot of the devices and a lot of the chemotherapy, EU melanin is used to create these things. And so what happens is that creates a quantum entanglement between your energetic field and the energetic field of these other things in the world. So it's so many layers to this, right? I don't know where to go from here. It's so much more, because I could really, really dig in. But I'm gonna say this: before we did this today, I knew that this was gonna be one of those things. Whenever you giving information to set people free, you're gonna have some type of something that's gonna be getting in the way, something that's gonna happen. So for a lot of us, let me just say this: for a lot of us, one thing that you can start doing that'll help you is practicing being uncomfortable and practicing being with yourself when you are uncomfortable. Just practice sitting in that. So whatever your coping mechanism is, just be like, okay, for a moment, I'm not going to try to cope in that way, especially if that coping mechanism is not healthy, right? So it's just like, okay, let me just sit with this. And so just sit and journal. Just sit and journal, so that you can develop more communication and coherence with a higher state of awareness. Because you can absolutely break through with everything that's going on. You can do it. And when people, so like the numbers lie, we just proved that to you. The 3D matrix uses numbers to brainwash us into not feeling like we're enough. Whether that's your bank account, how many people you had sex with, how many people you ain't had sex with, whether it's media. The truth is, everybody here and everybody that watches this video has an aspect of something we talked about inside of them. The truth is, most of those religious texts are actually astrotheology. It's a combination of the astrological system and the patterns and the way that it moves, combined with these philosophies created to support them, so that the people who are not a part of the 1% do not thrive. So when you recognize that you have trauma, for some people it's just getting in therapy and working it through. You might not always land the right therapist the first time. You will, but the one thing that you can control is you, right? So if you need help working through the stuff, there's no shame in that. But if you're expecting people that's been in your life for a long time to be 100% supportive of you awakening and of you beginning to move in ways that allow you to be authentic and sovereign and do what resonates with your own heart, that's not going to make them happy. Right? Because the ego does not like change. So if there's somebody that you've been doing something for and you're like, I really can't even afford to do that. I've been, I take them to work every day. They don't give me no gas money, gas so high now I can't do it. But if you grew up in any type of trauma or narcissistic abuse, then you turn into a people pleaser. And so being nice as children is what saved a lot of us, like really saved a lot of us. And it could have been a lot worse. So we learned how to be people pleasers to keep ourselves safe. That part of you didn't go away because you got bigger and older. That part of you was still inside of you. That's your wounded inner child. And we was tricked to think that because we got older chronologically, that we got smarter and wiser. And whatever you think 9 times out of 10, the opposite is actually what's going to be effective. in the energy that we're in now. Yeah. Was there anything else?
The galactic signature for today.
Okay. So we shared a little bit about galactic signature with y'all. So Ernest is going to break it down.
Yeah, according to the 1320.
Okay. You can read it. So this, you already told them what it is. They know what it is. Okay.
Oh, okay. So today's galactic signature is a red crystal serpent. Red crystal serpent. I'm gonna do it different today. I'm gonna read some breakdowns about it, since we did go into, you went into explaining the whole 1320 phenomenon. So the red serpent, again, is a red crystal serpent day. The red serpent represents our primal nature, or our instinctual body wisdom, our sensuality, creativity, and passion. Serpent reminds us to center in our earthly vehicles, honoring them as incredible sensual mechanisms, recognizing that our bodies offer us infinite opportunity for experience. They are our living temples, our one and only home for this lifetime. As our partners in life, our bodily vessels invite us to nourish ourselves, to ground, to breathe, to stretch, to move, to dance, to feel, to discover, to physically express, and above all, to sense. To be creatures, not intellects. Follow the body. It has a language all of its own. Intimately connected to our soul, our serpent bodies and its senses are gateways to that which lies beyond the body, offering themselves as a conduit to access this greater wholeness. As a tool and guide, our bodies are our allies in self-intimacy, renewal, and empowerment. Life force is our vitality. Every moment, the decisions we make impact our store of life force. It is ours to cultivate and care for. One of the most powerful sources of life force we all possess is our sexual energy, literally our sacred creative energy. And it is known as our kundalini. Our inner serpent fire ignites our divine potential residing within. The serpent reminds us to merge our primal life force energy with our higher visionary ego mind to become balanced and fully alive as a feathered serpent. This allows us to bring holistic insight into matters of survival and creation, assuring we see what's near and far. Now, the crystal aspect of today being a red crystal serpent day is tone 12. Crystal also is represented as tone 12, because in the 1320, you have the 20 represents the 20 tones. So today is tone 12. So 12 represents the maximum evolution of form, its attainment of complete complexity. The crystal tone presents a higher order of coordination, offering complex stability, creative cohesion, and comprehensive vision. Here, we perceive the coherency of the whole as a composition of related parts, honoring the elaborate inner workings of life as a higher order of mandalic synthesis. Crystal tone asks us to universalize, to translate our knowledge and insights that they may be universally applicable, relevant, and shareable with all, assisting the elevation of the common good. Tone 12 affirms that we ourselves embody the highest qualities of internal and social architecture. Like a crystal with its unique facets that contribute to the totality of its beauty, so Tone 12 reminds us to honor and celebrate the diverse features and contributions of individuals which constitute the power of a strong, interdependent community. Tone 12 offers the recognition that in a healthy whole system, The needs of the individual are met by the collective. And in return, the individual feeds the aspiration of the collective. May we strive to collaborate with one another, combining our gifts and enhancing our efforts, while remaining clear and lucid in the grace of our autonomy. Crystal also declares every being has a place in the formation. Our individual efforts of perseverance and commitment are invaluable. As we work in concert with one another, a powerful synergy emerges, a crystalline configuration which equals more than the sum of its parts. May we each experience ourselves as integral components of a network of divine creativity.
Yeah.
The daily affirmation: I dedicate in order to survive. Universalizing instinct. I seal the store of life force with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of navigation.
Ashe. So what I showed y'all was the 1320 app. To go to your app store. I think they have it on Android as well. Go to your app store and download the app 1320. And you'll be able to keep up with the energy of the day. So everything's energy, frequency, and vibration, right? So knowing the galactic energy of the day, it gives you a lot more control over what happens with you. Knowing your personal galactic signature is going to give you more understanding of you. And most people who book readings with me are searching for their purpose, right? The reason why we're searching for our purpose so much is because we have not been allowed to live our purpose for a really long time. A lot of women just quit following their dreams to become wives and mothers. That's misery, because your soul is not doing what it came here to do, especially if it happens to be something that's not perceived as being acceptable, right? Especially for a woman. And we know that it's been unequal, you know, and so with the patriarchy starting to go away and the divine feminine energy is beginning to anchor itself, this is why everything is resetting. It's not resetting because it was like, oh, we need to do a reset of the economy. No, it's resetting because the energy that's coming in, this galactic energy that's coming in, is like, hold up. Y'all got to reset. So the wave spell, let me break this down real quick. So the wave spell for today is a white wizard wave spell, right? And that represents timelessness, the ability to enchant, and receptivity, which happens to be my galactic signature, which explains why I was able to come into this incarnation as an oracle and see through time and space and travel back and forth to the future to gather information. Now, a lot of this stuff that I learned, that's how I learned it. A lot of this stuff is not in books and stuff, but it'll be just so synchronistic that I'll get confirmation on something. So let me just read just a little bit about this, because I feel like a lot of y'all here, that's the space you're in. You're like, I want to be doing what I really love to do. I want to be able to live my passion. What is my purpose? Right? So the shadow aspect of the white galactic energy, the white wizard energy, is the energy of the blue eagle. Okay. And so let me give you some of the information about the shadow, because again, the shadow information, hands down, shadow work changed our lives. But if you're doing it and you don't have efficient amount of self-love and self-care practice every day to support you, it's gonna make you feel like shit about yourself too. Not because it's not helpful, but it's because you're peering into your psyche, your subconscious, which is your personal abyss that contains all of your demons, your trauma, and your thought forms, your fragments, and even the shit that happened in past lives. Because a lot of us in past lives, the reason why life like it is now is because of some of the things that we did in the past life. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing that you did in this life. So this is why you can't pinpoint. You're like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this all of a sudden. So that stuff is coming up so that you can reclaim these parts of yourself so you can live your purpose. So the one shadow of the blue eagle is a loss of hope, excitement, or joy in your life. This can stem from a reaction to mass consciousness or from the precipitous state of the world. In your deep desire to affect change, you may feel overwhelmed in a vast ocean of consciousness that seems hopelessly enmeshed in issues of separation, limitation, and judgment. If so, remember that elements of this enormous field are often attracted to your personal dream field for healing. So a lot of what's happening in our dreams is us healing and working on our subconscious programs, patterns. So if you're dreaming about certain stuff, that's the way that we are healing right now. That's a whole conversation, because now they are recording our dreams and even going into the subconscious, because they know that 95% of what happens is because of the subconscious. And so now they're peering into the subconscious, unconscious mind using many different things that I'm not going to go into here. But on our Patreon, I can really express more and teach more. All right. So it goes on to say, these duality, remember I talked about good, bad, light, dark, evil, God, Satan, that's just polarity and duality. Just look at this energy and vibration, North Pole, South Pole, negative, positive, feminine, masculine, magnetism versus electric, which is the energy of the masculine. Magnetism is the energy of the feminine. So you start thinking like this and getting these terms in line, stuff don't bother you as much when you begin to ground yourself on what things really mean. So the duality constructs are deeply rooted on the planet. Don't be discouraged. The global mind is in the process of profound transformation. As you heal these issues within yourself, you offer gifts of healing to the larger reality. Do not underestimate the power of your personal transformation and its effect on the planetary mind. And so one affirmation is, Gaia, as you awaken, I heal myself. Gaia, as you awaken, I heal myself. I am healed. I am awakened. I am healed. This is an affirmation that you can use to activate this. So for a lot of us who are trying to figure out what our purpose is in life, you're going to have to learn more about yourself first, so that you will be able to actually begin making plans to tap into that. Now, for those of you who are starting to, I want to poke you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
For those of you who are starting to really work with yourself, and maybe you're working on your chakras, a lot of times that's the first thing that happens. You start learning about chakra imbalances, right? And how you can balance this out. So we have a product that we created that helps you to be able to do that. And after we learned a lot of this stuff and started applying it and actually using it and seeing how it was going to impact our lives. Okay, just making sure. I don't want to poke you. Oh, right. So this is the product. The dark crystal elixir is the product, and I'm going to read some information to you about this product.
It's the dark crystal.
Okay. So this elixir is made from Herkimer diamonds. Herkimer diamonds, and Herkimer diamonds are only found in one place in the entire world. And these are found in New York, actually. You can find these in New York. And if you can see that small black area on here, that small black area is the carbon deposits. And these are very old. And these are usually, you want to hold and let them see it on TikTok. These are usually created with water, actually. So it does hold that water, energy, and consciousness to help purify you and cleanse you and release things from you. Okay. So I want to read a little bit about Herkimer diamonds. So they get their name from Herkimer County, New York. They were first discovered in the 18th century during an excavation in the Mohawk River Valley. New York is the only place where these crystals are found. They were formed 500 million years ago in free-floating pockets of dolostone and bedrock. Dolostone was in a lecture by Dan Winter, and I'm going to be talking more about that later. He gets into the phase conjugation of quantum physics, how a soul is created, how a soul is actually force reincarnated, what really happens when we die, the intergalactic war of the Dracos and reptilians and Zeta Reticuli, the Anunnakis, and a lot of us, our genetics have mixtures of these things because if you're on planet Earth, you were a part of a great experiment of mixing many different things. I know it's news to some of y'all, but yeah. Okay, so these particular crystals are even being used in other brands of spirits. Okay, they contain air bubbles. They have the deposits of coal, which is carbon, and decayed plant life from the Paleozoic era. So that's what makes it so powerful. Now, luxury brands could not resist the allure of Herkimer diamonds, and they embrace them in their marketing, like Dan Aykroyd. He has the Crystal Head vodka, and he boasts about using 10,000 Herkimer diamonds and the filtration process of this. Now, when I created this, I didn't know anything about any of this, right? So, but I found out about it later, and I was like, wow, so Dan Aykroyd, out of all people, I mean, come on, you just hear his name, you like, oh, that man crazy, right? So it goes back to what I'm saying, what appears to be crazy and insanity, sometimes it's actually a phase that it takes for you to get to the I divinity, the higher self, the better version of you. People will call it crazy. I mean, because if it's an authentic thought and if it's a belief that nobody else has, of course they could just say you're crazy. It's easy to just chop it off as they crazy. But he uses this because it does make a huge difference in the taste and the texture of the vodka, right? And so that carbon that's in there is basically like activated charcoal, which consumes negative energy. Now, with that being said, these crystals are very, very beneficial for spiritual awakening, spiritual, emotional, and physical healing. The rest of the information about what this crystal does, I cannot get into right now on here, but you are welcome to go to the website and read information about this crystal in the blog section of the website. Each product that we create, we make sure that we give as much information on the metaphysical benefits of it and different ways that you can use it. So that's there. This shit is no fucking joke. The very first time I made it, now I made it, but it didn't feel like I made it. And when I took it for the first time, I had no idea what it was going to do or what was going to happen. And when I took it, my mind went clear. It's strong too. Like you can feel that your aura is starting to clear. And it helps in communication with spirit, communication with your own personal higher self, your I divinity. So it can be used for a lot of things. It's also made from silver. Some people, so colloidal silver, I know some of y'all probably know about this, but it's very good for healing a lot of different things. I was interested in it for a different reason though. The reason why I wanted to make sure that we included silver, because silver is lunar energy, and lunar energy represents the subconscious mind, right? Lunar energy is feminine energy as well. So combining that, it helps us because most of us have not cultivated the feminine part of us because we didn't even know we had feminine and masculine parts in both of us for most people who are awakening. So you have to be able to nourish and cultivate yourself and reparent yourself once you get to meet this wounded aspect of you, this part of your inner child. You have to reparent your own self. There's nobody else's responsibility to love you, to validate you, to support you, but you. Now, silver is also harder than gold, which increases the strength of its ability to increase finances. So when gold is weaved into a thread, oftentimes they add silver to it because it is much harder than gold, and it allows the thread to be stretched and weaved. So this is how powerful silver is. And don't that sound a lot like feminine energy, a lot like women, a lot like a lot of the women on the planet who have had to raise children all by themselves. They got to go to work. They got businesses. They got to cook. They got to clean up. They got to provide. They children's mamas, doctors, therapists, daddies. They trying to be everything. A lot of things that's in this world right now was built on feminine energy. And this is why it was so important for them to demonize feminine energy in a monotheistic religion when they're not even letting people know that even Rome prays to the Black Madonna. It was never meant for you to know these things, because if you knew, then you would begin to see the insanity in the way that we are living. Silver is also very, very significant, because if you remember, for some of us here, especially those of us who grew up in church, we used to sing a song called Silver and Gold. That song was about the sun, gold, and the moon. The sun, the masculine, the moon, the feminine. That's what it was about. But when I remember it was one of the first Christian songs that I ever learned. And for some reason, that song just, maybe it was the people who were singing it, I don't know. I got real caught up and I was like, I really like this song. So every time they were singing, I was singing too. I was like, damn, I think I want to be in the choir or something, you know, like they was, some of us with church because the music was like, I'm not no hater. So I got to say, like, the best music, it definitely was coming up out of the church. But I didn't realize the power of my own words. So I'm saying some shit like silver and gold. I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. I'm saying that what I need to sustain me in the material world and the resources is not important. It's not important. What matters to me is that I have Jesus, not that I have the material resources that's necessary for me to live, feed, and clothe, and house, and take care of us. We see the dichotomy and how this causes cognitive dissonance, internal conflict, and suffering. So a lot of us are being led to cancel these poverty contracts. So that's just a little bit about this particular product. These are very expensive. And it took me probably about 2 years to actually make the purchase. So I went ahead and bought as many of those as I could to make that product, because I wanted the power of that crystal to be infused in that product. So we have some amazing testimonials that you can find on the website, remnantsgathering.com. And also we have the Oshun Secret. And this is the one that I made to help us feel better about ourselves, to be able to attract wealth, to be able to feel better in your own body. Sometimes the most spiritual thing that you can do is start working with accepting your physical body, however it is. The more that you can accept yourself and love yourself in any form, the more peaceful you are going to be. Focus on controlling you and not others and not the world, because it's about to get a lot worse. And if you do not shift your focus to the inside of you, who you are within the deepest part of your being, you're going to be swept by the winds and the waves of the chaos on the planet, because a lot of us live in victimhood. We think that everybody is out to get us. So in learning these things, you don't just get stuck on that, because if like, look at it now, there are people now who didn't discover the agendas against life on this planet having its natural phase of evolution until they went and got vaccinated and they didn't know. You know, that right there, that's a lot of trauma. We're being traumatized intentionally. But what are you gonna do? What can you do can you change what's happening in the world? But you can absolutely control your mindset. And you can begin using things that benefit you and support you and strengthen you and give you your own power back. Y'all, I was so powerless to love myself. Like, I wore so much makeup, and it wasn't really like I ain't feel pretty or something, but that was me protecting myself. I would put on weight to protect myself because I didn't feel comfortable in my body the way it naturally was, because I've been raped, I've been abused, I've been molested. So I would put on weight and I would just eat an emotional eat, and nobody could give me answers, and it was just pray about it, pray about it. And I'm like, that's what everybody do, but everybody just praying and ain't nobody transforming. So it took me to die twice to realize that not only am I an empath, a very powerful empath, but I'm a starseed. I came here with a whole different system of consciousness. I came here to do some shit that ain't never been done before. So a lot of y'all, that's what you came to do. And so if you're trying to do what everybody else doing and it's not working, it's because what you came here to do, it is not what other people came here to do. And the more we can be supportive of one another and not judgmental of one another, the more we can do this work together and create a new morphogenic field and create scalar waves that are beneficial for us. So those are things that we can do. Reading more about Oshun's secret, and it's not just for women. I made the fragrance so that anybody could wear it. And anybody that has it, will let you know, like, immediately you start seeing changes. And I wouldn't be doing this shit if I was on some just trying to screw people over. Like, I'm telling y'all, it take me years to make some of these products. And
Magical.
Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah. So, I know it's a lot of this happening. And the more people get desperate to be able to sustain their lifestyle, we are seeing people do some really, really ugly and terrible things to themselves and one another. So don't get caught up in the confusion. Learn how to be the master of your own self. You don't have to use our products. You can just start working with whatever you got. Because we don't want to be running a business in the business of people not being their authentic selves. I'm in the business of helping people figure out who they are authentically. And how do I do that? Not by trying to save everybody, but by being brave and courageous and being my authentic self. And the more I learn new things about myself, I share those things. But if I was afraid of what people would think, I would have never came out and said, I'm not a Christian anymore. I'm not a Hebrew Israelite anymore. I'm not a Muslim anymore. Labels are for clothes. I'm a whole motherfucking soul. Why am I trying to label myself? Why am I trying to put myself in boxes? Because from where I stand, dead people exist in boxes. I'm alive. Yeah. If you woke, then it's time for you to learn to live unlimited. Not limited, not in a box. And that's what we do to each other, and we call it love, even in relationships. We say, unless you show up exactly the way I want to, I can't accept you. I won't accept you. I won't love you. So I'm not saying to tolerate abuse, but we all have dished out abuse and received it on this planet. And we're here to learn how to be more harmonious with ourselves, because when you are really happy with you, it don't bother you as much when you get talked about. It don't bother you as much when people don't show up to your birthday party, or nobody checks on you when you end up in the hospital. And I hear it. I hear y'all have had some recent experiences, and it's like, oh yeah, I was really surprised that my uncle or my auntie or my cousin or whoever didn't show up. So we have a blog that basically explains to you why we come into this world in these families that are not able to provide this type of love that we feel that we needed. Because if we would have got it from our family, we would have never learned to cultivate unconditional love for ourselves. So for a lot of us who didn't get that, it was because it was just in your soul contract for you to learn how to be everything to you, and for you to learn that you were enough, right? Despite whatever had taken place, you were enough. So one other thing, so yeah, read that blog, because it's a huge difference between relatives and your soul tribe. It's not the same thing. Both are kind of like a family of origins. It's basically a connection that you have. So even though a lot of us are clearing generational curses, that don't mean the people in your family want to do that. And it is not for us to make them feel bad that they not own none of this, because they have their own spiritual contract. And maybe it's not this incarnation that they're going to wake up to the level of consciousness that you are entering into. Maybe it's the next life or the one after that. So you can't be worried about what they accept, believe, and know. Even when you see the shit hitting the fan, you can't, like, because you go drive yourself crazy. I've been there, done that. You kind of just have to pull back and turn within. You want to say anything, babe?
I think everybody can appreciate, I'm kind of reading some of the comments, everybody can appreciate just the wisdom that's being shared. You saying it all.
Yeah, I want y'all to be reminded of how powerful you are. And I lived as a victim my whole life. And it doesn't mean that I wasn't victimized, but I don't want to identify myself as a victim anymore, because that's basically saying I have no power. And this shows up when you say stuff like, you made me mad. You made me do that. You made me, ooh, she done made me. He done made me. They done made me. Each time you say that, that is something you should really hone in on and listen to. You're saying that I don't control my emotional regulation. And anytime somebody outside of me doesn't do something that's acceptable to me, I'm going to be dysregulated beyond the ability for me to be grounded and anchored in my own self. So it starts there. Misery, love, company, that ain't to be judged either. I get it. Because if you in a bucket and you a bunch of crabs and you finally getting out, and the other crabs like, damn, they finna get out. But if they get out, we ain't gonna be able to get out, because they ain't gonna come back and get us. They gonna pull you back down. It's not personal. It's ingrained in us to do this to each other. We don't know how to do nothing else. We are so good at tearing each other apart because inside we're torn. Inside we're hurting. Hurt people will always hurt people. Traumatized people will always perpetuate more trauma. So you can't be like, because it's like, I'm trying to help our lineage. I'm trying to stop the cycles. And people don't give a fuck about that. They go drink their shit, smoke their shit. They go smack whoever they want to smack. They go beat the hell out of their kids whenever they want to, and you better not say nothing.
Cuss them out too.
Cuss them out. You ain't shit. You just like your daddy. You just like your mom. I can't stand you, little motherfucker. Again, as children, who you gonna call? Who gonna come and save you? That inner child is still inside of each and every one of us.
And so you adapt. And so with all of that being said, self-love is becoming trendy, but it's becoming trendy for a reason. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are seeing the importance of self-love, and so they just jumping on that trend, when in reality, that's where it is. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be loving on ourselves more. So much so that it could possibly be weird to somebody else. Like, damn, it don't take all this. But yes, it do. Mm-hmm. It take that and some. So it's not just cliche. You just gotta love ourselves.
This is so epic. Let me say this too right quick, because when Kendrick Lamar album came out, it was probably within a week or so of me putting together the new sacred group support group that we have for other starseeds who want to have healthier mindsets and detox the shame, because that's really what it is. Because a lot of y'all are talented as hell, but if I ask you to come on right now and do whatever that talented things you do, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna feel that thing inside of you. It's gonna be like people go laugh at you, people go check you, people might not like that. You might offend somebody, you might up somebody go check the hell out of you. Girl, don't get your fat ass on there. Look at your head, you got a bonnet on. You know what happened to Ashley Jackson's wife when she was sitting in the video with a bonnet on? Don't get digitally lynched now. Like all this shit started coming up, and you can't even be your best damn self and live your best life without being haunted by these thoughts and these loops. I had that happen to me. That's why we started playing our music on occasion, just so I can detox myself from the fear of not being accepted just as I am. Because if I can accept me again, then I can show up. And I'm not showing up. And, you know, like we just got to stop giving our fucks away. Keep your fucks for you so you can learn how to love you. Because the truth is, nobody else is sacrificing themselves for you.
That's right.
But we like to pretend because we don't want to be seen as wrong or bad or ugly, a bad mama, sister, brother, daddy, uncle, whatever. That's the ego. We want to protect our image, right? And that's dying. You're not going to even be able to be successful in business if you don't know how to live from your heart space no more, because the economy is shifting and changing. It's not about the mind. It's not about logical mind and reasoning anymore. It's about the right brain, the right hemisphere, the feminine energy, creativity, sexual energy, your kundalini energy, being able to be fully connected with Mama Earth below your feet, for your earth chakras to be connected and holding you and grounding you, and you live in a state of oneness. Everything is everything. The universe is mental. For a lot of us, Anthony DeMello says something, and he says that a lot of people say that they want to transform. But when I really sit down with them and tell them what it takes, they really just want me to give them their wife back, or give them their life back to where it used to be, or give them their husband back, right? So it is for our benefit that we're not being allowed to force relationships, force ourselves, wear masks, be fake. It don't feel good, but it is to benefit us. And just think about the generations that come behind us. If we do the work now, maybe we won't have to incarnate on this planet as babies that can't talk and can't tell people what's happening to them, as children who have no power. Just maybe. That's why this ain't popular, you know? Because it awakening is not like some feel good shit. Kundalini awakening ain't either. My back hurt, head hurt. I be having some stuff going, but like, whoa, I've had chakras just completely get blown apart, where I'm just like I spent 2 years in the dark night of the soul, and my solar plexus, I didn't have no confidence and belief in myself as this new person. So if I can't use my degree, or can't use whatever I went to school to do, or you know, like I'm having to learn new ways to interact with my environment to get the outcome that I want. And if you don't believe in yourself and don't have confidence, you're not going to be able to do it. And even if you do it, it's not going to succeed, because your own black magic against you being able to succeed is in the mix of that. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. So when I started making potions and elixirs, the answers in the spirit guides was on my ass about authenticity every day, all day. You better not make no sacral chakra posting, and you know damn well you have not been doing what you need to do to heal your womb space. That's how they came at me. And I was like, damn, is this love? And they was like, yes. Because if we let y'all continue to go on how you've been going on, you're just going to continue to perpetuate more of what you're trying to heal. So you either want the work or you don't. Let us know. Because you can definitely have this blue pill if you want it. It's an option. You got free will, but even free will is limited. There's a visible field always around you, waiting on you to get in a certain position so that you can be food for archonic parasites to feed off of you. That's just what it is.
Yep.
So sci-fi movies are typically documentaries. The movie Soul, who was that about? Just drifting through life, You don't know where to go, where you're going, what to expect, what to do. That's us. And for religion to tell you that reincarnation is not a real thing, what would be the purpose? Now, think, like, I know it's challenging when you're still in it, but let's just entertain it right now. Don't have to really be real. Because see, there's a firewall that comes up when people start saying something to you that's going to pull you out of the 3D matrix, and you'll get real defensive. Their religion definitely created a thought form in Grego that connected to our ego. So when people would try to talk to me, when I first listened to Bobby Hemming, I was like, that man crazy as hell. That ain't true. Them folks ain't busting each other in the booty like that, and then getting up there and preaching, and whoa, and then it starts to come out.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I don't know what I think I know. Right? Maybe I don't know what I think I know. And this is why nothing that we have done in religion has helped us to heal mental illness and emotional imbalances.
Nothing.
I need somebody to let me know whether or not I'm telling the truth. Can I get an ashe? If you resonate with this, give us an ashe and let us know, like, what's going on. Can we get some hearts, something on TikTok, what's going on? Because see, we don't usually do this. Because we know that a lot of people, they really, this is not fun, but it's healing.
Just search Campson on YouTube. KHAMSIE, just like the handle.
So since y'all wanted out to smoke, I'm finna give you a little bit more, okay? I can do this shit all day. Like liberating souls.
And then all day tomorrow and all night tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Ain't that right?
Don't
stop.
Look, I'm a liberator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on some Harriet Tubman shit spiritually. I want people to be free to just be who the fuck they are. For real. I don't want nobody around me to feel like they got to be somebody else. Mm-hmm. Right? So Pamela Cribb is another channeler. And this is what she has said about awakening and being able to let go of your birth family, the illusion that we were sold, right? That American dream, that family and just happy and with a Brady Bunch and dad does this and mom does this and honey, hi honey, girl. A lot of us grew up with this fantasy. We was hoping it would be our life. And then once you get old enough to see it's not, that's where a lot of the disconnect from our true self came from. When you enter the earth life, the memory of the other side is still fresh and alive. This is why babies can't talk. This is set up. This is why babies are talking sooner, getting teeth sooner, and holding their head up soon as they come out. Because it's just, we're awakening now. We're calling forth this energy. So babies like, look, I ain't got time for that shit.
Mm-hmm. You sure right. They crawling sooner than.
Look, I'm telling you, they know what's going on. They just like, y'all might not know what's going on, but I do. Oh, he walking. How old is he? 4 months? What? Our kids did all of that because it was the quickening. So it goes on to say, you have no words to express the experience of the other side, no way of communicating the truth of it, the simple things like the unconditional love and the safety that surround you everywhere you go. The energy of home is still self-evident to you, like the feel of water to a fish, but then you enter the physical world and the psychological reality of your parents or whoever raised you. You reach out to them. You want to keep that sense of home alive, but it seems that you are cut off like a net cast around the fishy part of you. This is the birth trauma that has physical as well as deeply spiritual aspects to it. The net that catches you as you fall is predominantly spawned by your parents' way of being, their basic outlook on life, their ways of relating to themselves, their hopes and desires and dreams for you. When you were born, the collective consciousness on earth was still in the grip of ego-based consciousness, as it is even today. But times are changing. There's a kind of beginning stage in which things need to gain momentum before they become real. Fundamental change is actually brought about at present. You are still in these beginning stages, and the inner work you do is vital in this respect. So when you entered Earth, you entered a reality dominated by ego-based consciousness, and you got acquainted with it through the energy of your parents. So this is DNA, mRNA. mRNA typically comes from the masculine father lineage. The DNA typically comes from the mother matrilineal lineage, right? So this is epigenetics. Epigenetics is the explanation of generational curses in the form of science. So you have to deal with a number of pervasive illusions, of which I will name a few. Then there is the loss of love, meaning the sense of unconditional joy and safety that belongs to the very heart of you, like a natural birthright. But as you enter the earth plane, on which the energy of love is not self-evident at all, you gradually start to confuse love with all kinds of energies that are not love, such as admiration, wealth, or emotional dependency. These confused notions of love affect your relationship and basically make you continually search for something outside of you to regain that sense of unconditional love that is actually deep inside of you. How these illusions or losses affect you depends on the specific energy of your parental house and your family environment. Generally, the parental consciousness is a mixture of ego and heart, of fear and light. There are certain areas in which your parents are likely to be very attached to or hooked up with the illusions mentioned above. But at other points, they may be quite enlightened. For instance, by having experienced suffering and inner growth in some area which opened up their hearts. The specific way in which they are stuck in the illusions of ego-based consciousness is different for each parent or family. And this is what creates, if you talk about energy, a morphogenic field typically is around the family. A lot of times it's the mother, so it's like happy wife, happy life. So this is the feminine energy. It's like it's a feminine energy, most dominant being ain't happy, then ain't nobody go be happy. And you know, we know it is what it is, right? So it says that as a baby, you take in your parents' energies very thoroughly, like a basic imprint that has a deep effect on how you experience things later. There is no filter yet. It is only much later when you become aware of yourself as yourself. It is much later when you become aware of yourself as yourself, right? That says a lot right there. So first you attach yourself very strongly to the paradigm of your parents. And then as you grow older and gain more self-awareness, you start to question your parents' outlook on things as you're looking for your own sense of identity. Now we call this identity because your divinity is your true self. Your identity is the one that you inherited, the person you were told you should be. The psychological growth process is very much akin to the transition from ego consciousness to heart-based consciousness. The natural stages of earth life, the biological and psychological cycles and seasons correlate with natural growth stages in the spiritual sense. So the transition from ego to heart-based consciousness often runs parallel with overcoming the limiting, fearful energies that actually were controlling your birth family, which is usually fear. The cosmic birth trauma that you experience when you are born as an individual soul, right? We was talking about this cosmic energy, right? This is why knowing your galactic signature allows you to heal and undo a lot of these imprints of energies. Okay, so often these are limiting laws which are not at all self-evident to the child. The parents thus represent the ego-based consciousness for the child and the energy of these three illusions. So the child begins to take the shape of the parents, whoever is raising them, and that influence very strongly, and this usually exists for the rest of your life. In the first 3 months, the child takes in its surroundings very deeply. The energies of the parents sink into their consciousness, unhampered by rational thought or defense, because we didn't have it yet. We didn't even have an ego. Most people say the ego is not anchored until you're about 7 years old. On the other hand, there is still a piece of heaven in its memory, a part of the child's consciousness that is untainted by the illusion, that knows love, mastery, and oneness as the natural state of being. This awareness collides with the ego-based energies around it, and this is a deeply painful conflict. It can make the child want to turn around and go back home. It can cause grave resistance to life at the very start. It is actually the cosmic birth trauma repeated over and over again. I talked about reincarnation. A lot of times it's forced reincarnation. If you don't know, you don't know. You know, so a lot of people here probably have been told when you die, you go into the light. Well, if on Poltergeist, they were saying go into the light. I don't know if y'all remember Poltergeist. Do the opposite. Do the opposite. Right. This is the upside down world, Wizard of Oz. Nothing is what it seems. All right. So we tend to become very compliant to our parents or whoever is raising us in these energies because it is the only way to be safe. Right. So what happens is, as you're going through these, noticing these things, right? This is when you start developing your sense of self. You start feeling like some stuff don't resonate with you. But on top of that, you see the pain and suffering, and you also are starting to connect the dots, even as children. And you started to think that it was something wrong with you. It must be something wrong with me. My parents must be arguing because of something I did. They must have got divorced because of something I did. Like, we're very focused on self when we first come into this world, and that is usually removed from us with some type of programming. We're told that that's not how you should be, right? Now, as this child begins to grow up and go through puberty, this is usually when it seems like we get out of control as teenagers, becoming adolescents, right? And you get confused because you just can't make shit make sense. And maybe the parents that raised you couldn't make it make sense either. And this is when, if they couldn't make it make sense, it goes back to shut the fuck up. Don't be asking me questions. I'm your mom, I'm your daddy. And don't be asking God questions either. For a child, it's real confusing. Even the preteen, you're trying to figure things out. It's like, I can't talk to nobody about it without getting in trouble, right? So this is when the throat chakra just shuts down. It's not going to rotate and allow the vortex of energy to be healthy for you to express yourself, for you to be able to unapologetically be you, right? And speak your truth. So how does this affect us as we're growing up? So you end up having a very guilty conscience, okay? You feel like you always not doing the right thing or the best thing, right? Sometimes you don't know what is the right thing to do because some of the people who was telling us what the right thing to do wasn't doing the right thing. So that's a little confusing too, especially if you have someone in the church that's telling you lust and fornication and adultery is sinful and that God could send you to hell for it. And then you get a little bit older and this same person that was teaching that, like, you looking real good in your prom dress. Thank you. And then you turn 17, 18, graduate, and it goes from there to, you know what? I'm going to take you out to eat. And you get hit on by that same man who was saying that you grew up with. That's confusing. And you go and talk to somebody about it. And most of the time, it ain't just the streets. Snitches in church get stitches too. And your ass might go to hell for snitching. Can we be honest? We get real protective. We would get real protective even if the pastor was doing something that we knew was not right. Pastors and pimps have a lot of similarities. I'm just going to say that. They got a lot of similarities. And when you really just step back and remove your personal judgment and just observe, you begin to see the similarities. And you begin to see that a lot of the consciousness of gang members is very similar to churches because they like that too. They color-coded, color corresponded. They feel like they own certain blocks and neighborhoods is theirs, right? And so they at war with the gang members and they all fighting over some land that ain't even theirs. But this is the insanity that they have caused us, socially engineered us to have chaos, to hate ourselves, and to not even know where to begin. So over time, we don't have boundaries. We don't even know what it is to exercise a boundary, right? Because we weren't allowed to really have boundaries. So they would simply find that they feel the urge to achieve something all the time, but not understanding why working hard has become an actual addiction to being accepted, to being successful. So that at least somebody can say, well, at least she got a good job and she got a good career and she got a real nice house. She's doing good. For a lot of people, that's success. But inside, you don't feel fulfilled.
That's right.
Another distortion of true energy of love is when the child starts to confuse love with emotional dependency. Many children feel love when they feel needed by their parents, and they are actually filling a hole in their parents' hearts, a hole that the parents have not taken care of themselves. And when the child steps into it, it offers itself as a substitute parent. It seeks to provide the love and support the parents are missing inside. In this way, it wants to please the parents. It wants to get the love that it so sorely needs. But this kind of service is not love, of course. This is codependency. This is also trauma enmeshment and trauma bonding. It is a dangerous entanglement of energies that will create a lot of difficulties later on in both the relationship between the parents and the child and in the intimate relationships that the child will enter into as an adult. So one of the wisdoms that we've been using to heal this is Wu Wei wisdom, which is the art of the Tao. And it's more like taking on the characteristics of water and being more like water and just ebbing and going with the flow. At the top of the show, I was like, just gonna go with the flow because it didn't go exactly how we wanted it to. So you just go with the flow, and then you don't get as tense and caught up in the negative energies when you're going with the flow. And I didn't finish that thought. I'm coming back to it. The Kendrick Lamar's song Savior on the interlude, Wu Wei Wisdom, the channel on YouTube that we watch, which is based on this Tao way of living. We put that on the community tab on our YouTube channel so that you can see all of the synchronicities that occurred. I actually got a lot of screenshots too, but the timing was so divine. And for Kendrick Lamar to be on the same wave of consciousness that we are, that tells you a lot about the consciousness and what's happening to us. We're being triggered to repair these parts of our wounded inner child so that we can be whole people and so that we can have fulfilling lives and relationships where we know how to get our needs met without being manipulative, without projecting and blaming and using all the other stuff that we've used to try to get our way.
That's right.
All right. So parents often, so parents often try to heal their own emotional wounds through the relationship with their child. When they do so unconsciously, they use the child as a substitute parent. Now, this is, as you look up psychology and Carl Jung and even Freud, you kind of talked about this. So this is even with like single mamas and how they are with their son. Sometimes the son kind of becomes a substitute for the masculine that's not present in the home. And so by the time he's 10, 11, 12, he already is doing what a father or husband would have been doing in the house. So that's another example of that. And this ain't got nothing to do with saying what's wrong, because we don't really believe in right or wrong. Something is either beneficial or not. Okay, the right or wrong thing, good and bad, black and white, it's too extreme. It's black and white. And a traumatized mind can only see things in black and white. And you can't see the many shades of spectrums in between. So, yeah. So the child needs to get the love, so they do anything. We would do anything to get the love that we felt like we needed, right? So as an adult, you can see how you become the kind of person that don't enforce boundaries. Your energy is always depleted. You're exhausted, and you tend to give more relationships than you receive. You tend to not know your worth. You tend to interpret emotional dependency, even jealousy and possessiveness as a form of love, whereas these energies are diametrically opposed to love. This tragic loss of self is born from the association of love with need, but did not receive. Major events in your life are always geared to offer you opportunities to grow and return to who you are authentically, but it takes courage and determination to get to the bottom of this quest and to regain the energies of the newborn child, untainted by the illusions of the loss of mastery, love, and oneness. You will likely find yourself opposed to your own soul's energy for a little while. That is part of awakening phase. If that's the phase that you're in or entering into, it's just a cycle. You will get through it. And we're going to tell you about the sacred support group that we have that helps people with these mindsets to be able to get through these things. So what can happen is you can start searching for love in all the wrong places. This is a lot of us can relate to this, right? So it takes both the male energy of self-consciousness and discernment and the female energy of love and understanding to release yourself from these ego-based consciousness that a lot of us inherited from our birth family, and also the culture, the societal conditioning. So the rest of this, we have this on the website in the blog section. I'm not going to read the rest of this because it's a lot and we've already went over a lot. And I don't want to give y'all overload because we did try to cram a lot of information in today. But just sit with yourself tonight and listen to your heart, because after you get this information, sometimes it's easier to hear your heart and feel your heart so that you can begin saying, what is it that I need? What is it that is going to soothe me? What is this going to support me to be able to get on the path that I feel like I'm supposed to be on? It takes a lot of courage to walk away from your family, because on this planet, we have been told that family means whoever you're born to, you must stay connected to them for the rest of your life, no matter what happens, no matter what you do to them or they do to you. For a lot of us, we think that that's the definition of family. And you can see how that causes more pain and suffering. It keeps us trapped so that they can continue to control us in these spiritual concentration camps where we're not allowed to really tap into our power and our higher potential. A lot of y'all are telepathic. But it makes you feel schizophrenic and you don't know what to do to be able to control the telepathy. So it's just all over the place. So from the perspective that I have been observing, in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to really see this come to head. It's a lot like a pimple. It's sore right now. We feel it. We can feel the chaos bubbling to the surface. We know at any point in time, something could happen and it's going to significantly change what we know to be life. We have recently all been impacted by the pandemic. We are losing people that we care about at rates that we are not used to, unless you lived in a crack era, because it was a lot of death in that era as well. This goes back to hip hop being weaponized as well. So religion is weaponized to keep us separated from our own power. Hip hop has been weaponized to keep us separated from our own power. R&B now, like, damn, it was like we thought R&B was gonna be safe for a little while. R&B, they was like, nope, you ain't safe either. Kids had everybody, so it's like the things that have been weaponized, it just makes it difficult to know where to go from here. So whether or not you are just beginning this journey or you've been on it for a little while, we created a sacred support group called Mindset Reset Shame Detox. And this sacred support group is just a space where you can be among other like-minded people seeking to master themselves. If you're having loops of certain thoughts that's not supportive of you, and maybe you're going on an interview or you're getting ready to apply for a new career, or you're getting ready to get married or get divorced, or whatever it may be, wherever you are in your evolution, the mindset is key. And I think we have proven this tonight. To maintain peace in chaos, you must program your mind with things that will support the person you are becoming, because your old belief systems and values most likely are not going to support the person you are becoming, because that vibrational vortex is much more expansive and is stronger. And so you have to be able to build yourself up to have that energy dance where you can manifest and script your life. And we talk about that a lot here. So, we wanted we don't want to prove nothing to people, but I say all the time, I want to be the proof. I want people who are chronically ill to see that you can absolutely do whatever you want to do. You can, you can have relationships, you can have your own business, you can do whatever you want to do. You can build your empire. I want to be the proof that we don't have to be hopeless. And I was one of the most hopeless, helpless, victimized people in the world. I would get sick and go into the hospital. And while I'm in the hospital, I'm still fighting for my life, not against my health, but the people who were supposed to be taking care of me. I have been overdosed. I have been left for dead. I have had seizures and fevers so high, so many things. And there was nobody to come and save me from that, right? And even through my last pregnancy, I was in the hospital for 4 months, fighting for my life and for my baby's life. And even through all of that, I was still in the middle of spiritual warfare, of reclaiming my sovereignty to be my authentic self. It was a battle. So feeling like a victim, it only takes one thing to happen to you for you to drop back out of the mindset that brought you to this point. But if you judge it, it's going to be really difficult for you to move forward from here. And I know that there are a lot of spiritual teachers out there who may be sharing some really powerful and phenomenal things. I know we have our personal favorites that we like to share on our community tab of YouTube. But this group is there for people who are seeking to be self-masters and reclaim their sovereignty, to be your own God, goddess, to be the one that's in control of you. And it's not really a lot that you have to do, just being among people who are holding a space of non-judgment, yet holding a space of accountability that allows you to grow. And if you want to fly like eagles, you can't hang with the pigeons and learn how to fly and eat like an eagle. You have to fly with the eagles. As soon as you sign up for that program, it's free for 3 days to give you opportunity to scroll like we love to do, because we're addicted to that scrolling. It's been proven that scrolling is addictive. But you'll be able to scroll and actually read things that is going to empower you and help you to not feel so alone, and to see that whatever it is that you are here to do, you can absolutely do it. You just needed to have the tools and the support and accountability. That's the main thing, because a lot of us are not disciplined. So we get on this journey, we start using the affirmations, and before you know it, you're just right back where you started. And that's because of the lack of accountability and discipline. This is not a replacement for your therapist. This is just basically social media, except it's more so a sacred group for like-minded people. So we put tips in there every single day. You will hear from us at least twice a day. On most days, we're going to give you something to focus on before you go to bed at night, so that you are sleeping in a vibration that's supportive of you, that's positive, right? And so that you can wake up and have those powerful intentions. And then when you have your grand rising, because we don't do good morning, because morning don't feel good. Mm-hmm. We don't do hellos. We know we in hell, but we're not holding that consciousness, right? So in there, it's a lot of positivity, but it's honesty, it's truth. We ask that you respect other people. That is all that we ask. There are 9 free gifts that you receive when you join the group. And after the free 3 days of you trying it out, it's only $4.44 a month. And the reason why we marked it down so much, even though it is valued at $444 with everything that we put in the 9 freebies, because we know that a lot of people are really, really ready to do this work after seeing the way the world changed. We think a lot of people see now that you don't know what you think you know. You're not crazy either, right? And so 444 holds the energy of transformation. It's a very powerful master number, angelic. We've done a lot of conversations about 444. That was what first woke me up in 2012, was the 444. And so that's why we priced it as that, because when you begin using your currency and your money and coherence with these numerology, the power of these numbers, this helps to create your reality as well. So that is there. The only thing that you have to do is introduce yourself when you join. The Ego TKO strategy is infused into this group with the 9 freebies. So you're learning how to do alchemy and transmute your personal trauma into something beneficial. You will have people who will support you if you're going for an interview or whatever it is. And you like, look, y'all, I just need y'all to hold me accountable. I'm going in here and I'm going to believe in myself. And we go hold you accountable, and you'll be celebrated. And each day before you go to bed, this is a place where you can do shadow work with a group. And you just come and say, today I accomplished blank. And no matter how big or how small, you know, because a lot of us feeling like we're not enough and we're not lovable and feeling so broken. And it just causes us to not even take inventory of our accomplishment through the day. And when you don't do that, your mind will by default start to worry and criticize you for what you did not accomplish. So that's there. The Mayan calendar 9-year vision map that explains to you the end of the world, the ages, what to expect, and the explanations that we were describing to you from the planets, that's in there as well. We're going to be in this energy into 2029, okay? So practicing riding waves. I don't know if any of y'all ever swim in the ocean before, but you know what I mean? You cannot fight against some currents. Your ass will definitely drown. And I made it happen, and you just kind of have to let go and float sometimes until that wave passes. And then you can catch yourself and you know, but this is that energy. Okay. So whatever you focus on, that's where your energy flows, where your attention goes, and that's what create your reality. And if the 95% of your subconscious mind is filled with things that we discussed tonight, 9 times out of 10, you are beginning to see that 95% show up in your life every damn time you turn around. Yeah. It ain't just you. So I hope that we made it make sense. Thank y'all for joining us. We have a Patreon, believe it or not, out of all of we've just shared with y'all tonight, we probably have about 1,000 other videos with so much more information that is in depth and even more detail, and that consists of channeled messages, decodings about a lot of the events occurring to make shit make sense. Because the more you make it make sense, the more you can strategize as to what the next steps are for you and your own journey of evolution and becoming sovereign, reclaiming your power. So the Patreon link, I guess we could drop this Patreon link. It's always in the description of the videos on YouTube, and it's also in the bio on TikTok and Instagram. Just go find us wherever we are and follow us. But on Patreon, I kind of want to go over there now, do like dig in, but I don't know. It's 1,000 videos already, and it's a lot. So maybe I'm just gonna take my time and ease into this, because I could just keep going and going and going, but we do have other things that we need to do. However, if you want all of the smoke and you like, I want the truth, I want to know, and our truth may or may not be your truth, because we're not sitting up here just like Bobby Hemmett always said, you know, don't follow me nowhere, you know, because I'm going through this process of evolution just like y'all are, and Ernest is too. So we're not sitting in front of you saying, oh yeah, we know all the answers to everything, because we don't. But wisdom comes when you recognize that you are a fool. And eventually the fool becomes wise with the right tools. So because of the censorship, that is all that I can say. So if you want to follow us on Patreon, head over there. For those of you who really is like, you know what, I ain't playing no more. We got tiers for everybody. Okay, it's not expensive, and it supports us to continue doing what we're doing to liberate other souls from the prison planet that we have been trapped in. So the products are all on sale right now, 22% off. We just did that. Juneteenth is coming up, so 22% off on all potions and elixirs. Head over there until it's sold out. Once it's gone, because it takes 3 full moons for me to make a lot of these things. It's a really strenuous process, and a lot of things that I have to do to make sure that I'm in the right space, the most beneficial space. So yeah, there's that. So, you know, just listen to your intuition. At the end of the day, don't believe shit we say, test it out and see what's true for you. And anybody that's not telling you to do that probably, you know, have not crossed over into this state of awareness yet of 45D consciousness. But yeah, let's stop being so judgmental. All right. It's really not helping nobody. And instead of being judgmental, let's learn how to discern, use intuition, and go within.
You close booking consultations and sessions?
I don't think so. If the schedule is open for readings and consultations, spiritual consultations, you can book your readings and consultations. It may be open right now. So if you want to do that, because I will be closing that soon. We also have the New You Mystery School for those of you who really want to learn more in depth and learn how to be practitioners. We have that as well. That can be found on Patreon. And the decoding that I'm getting ready to put together, I'm going to tell y'all how Bluetooth has been weaponized to cause mental and emotional illness, imbalances. Bluetooth. I'm going to tell you how they did it. I'm going to tell you where the origins are of Bluetooth and how it connects to what's happening on the planet and how it impacts indigenous people and certain types of genetic imprints. So that decoding is coming up, plus a whole lot of other decodings. Shout out to Only Asaru of the Spiritual Shade Room. That's our brother. You know, we got a chance to go to the Sphinx Paw and do a lecture, and just sitting in the same space that Bobby Hemmett said was profound and really magnificent to experience that, because I called him crazy for a while, and now
you following his footsteps.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of came full circle. If you want to watch that lecture where I decoded a lot more about this, that's already on the Patreon. And because we know the economy is resetting and times are hard, we make sure that we give a lot of stuff to people who are on the $1 tier, which is just a donation. So go look. We're not going to try to convince y'all or nothing. Just go look and see for yourself. Read the testimonials. And we're going to get ready to get out of here. I think that's it. I'm excited to see what the fuck's going to happen now, because I can feel some people that got some answers. People like, now I know what was going on with me. You need something?
How you want to say anything to TikTok? You want to say anything to TikTok?
That was pretty much it. TikTok, go find me on YouTube. We're streaming on YouTube tonight too. Just type in Camson and you should be able to find our YouTube channel. And again, it's over 1,000 videos. There's so much information. So just binge watch it. This is helping you do that. And we're going to get ready to get out of here. I've been meditating with my Lemurian seed crystal as well. You see the ridges on here. When you got this Lemurian seed, I got grids everywhere. So everything that we make sure energetically, vibrationally, ain't nothing else going to be in the mix. You know, so that's just, that integrity is everything right now.
I prefer
so, really? Yeah. No, okay. So,
I'm putting this link on.
Okay. Yeah. So, what you think? You know, you don't know. Just be like, I don't know. I'm learning. We learning. Try not to judge yourself. A lot of times, this don't happen till you turn 40, at least, where you start asking these questions and diving deep into why you are the way you are. So I just wanted to say that too, because we had that and we was like, you know, why we have to wait till we're in our 40s to learn these things. But some of y'all 30s and 20s, and even people that's teenagers is awakening to this, you know. So it's just try not to get too caught up in your chronological age. Remember, we are all wounded children in the bodies of adults, all of us. And wherever you are in that process, maybe you are less wounded than someone else, but this is happening. So check out the community tab on YouTube so y'all can go and see what I'm talking about, this synchronicity, when Kendrick Lamar started talking about the same things that I've been talking about for a long time, that really just, that opened up my eyes to see like this shit is really happening. People is like, fuck this shit. I'm finna, this ain't working for me no more. And we're trying to learn new ways to love ourselves, just as we are. I'm definitely gonna fuck up some more belief systems though as I go, because they just enslaved us, right? And so, yeah, the chaos is not here to destroy us. It's to give us an opportunity to begin
40
again.
is the original 18.
Right. That's what it's feeling like. That's exactly what it's feeling like.
Okay, Mercedes. She said she had found you on TikTok.
Okay, Mercedes. What's up, Mercedes? Yeah, we some real free souls over here. We just, you just gotta, at some point, you just gotta be like, you know what, I can't be so tense and rigid all the time. And maybe this is just how I'm gonna learn how to love me more, right? No matter what's happening in your reality, just start telling us everything works out for me. This will work out for me. It don't look like it is, that it's working out for me, because these things lie. The 3D matrix lies. This is a holographic reality, a simulation being created by the cube, hypercube on Saturn, right? The beautiful part about all that is you have the power to script your narrative. You just needed the tools. All right. Well, we go get ready to get out of here. And for those of you who already know we're about to say, you can say it with us so we can continue to activate intimacy with this higher aspect of us to see spiritually.
Yeah, I don't think you ever spoke anything about vertigo.
Vertigo? Oh, vertigo is definitely an awakening symptom. Vertigo and ear ringing, definitely. And eye twitching. If that's happening with you, you're getting another upgrade. And we got all that on Patreon too, where I break all of that down, symptoms and everything. Cancel the Oracle. They cancel the Oracle. We'll share the TikTok link as well on YouTube on the community tab. Well, actually, it's already there. All of the links on the community tab, y'all. So just go over to the community tab on YouTube. You can find me there. And you can find Ernest. You can find everything. It's right there. So go and look through there, okay? It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. That's right. And I'm at a point now where I'm like, I want it to happen through me. You know, at first it was to me, then it was for me, and now it's through me. And so I just let the magic come through me. I just let the power come through me so other people can connect with your own power. Because I do not know everything. And I got just as many issues as everybody else do. But I ain't judging it. It just is what it is. And the more that I release the judgment of it, the more I heal. All right. Y'all already know what it is. Man, your third eye has just been kissed. Peace and power.